WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of Island Tea with your fave, Jade. Your other fave is away doing business. He will be back next week. And guys, sorry for my tardiness, but those of you on the outside, y'all know that outside is raining cats and dogs this morning. It is literally so wet outside. It was a struggle to get here, but I made it nonetheless. And I know we're about to jump into some interesting conversations with our friends from Antigua and the man himself, Mr. Peter Wickham. I know you guys are excited for this because it is technically election season in St. Kitts again. Although we have 21 days to figure out what's happening, the things just keep popping out. The letters, the information, the meetings. Yes, guys, I think it is officially election season. I saw that the Labour Party had a meeting last night. It looked quite packed. The candidates looked refreshed, energized. They look like they're ready for something, anything at this point. But yeah, guys, good morning. If you are under the sound of my voice, or if you are watching me live on the socials, it is Friday. We've made it. And yeah, look forward to an interesting show today. Let us check in with our friends over in Antigua. Looks like the man himself, Darren, is just about ready. And I know Mr. Peter Wickham is ready as well. But guys, yes, welcome to another episode of Island Tea. Apologies for missing yesterday. I was not feeling well. And as you know, our other fave is not on island, so you guys just had to miss out yesterday, unfortunately. But we are back, we are here, and we are ready to give you guys a good show. How are you guys doing over there on the live? How are my callers doing? Remember, guys, you can always call in and chat with me. You guys will be my co-host, as I mentioned this week, until my usual one returns. So remember to call me, give your thoughts, share your opinions, but do it respectfully. In any case, let me just make sure that my friend here over in Antigua is on and ready.
We're
Good
listening
morning.
to you. Schmoozing with your listeners. Good morning. Jade?
Hi,
I'm hearing Jade. Yes, good morning. How are you?
I am okay. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. And I believe we have Mr. Peter Wickham, Director of Cadres and well-known, noted political poster up and down the region. Peter, you can hear us all?
Yep, I'm hearing you perfectly, and I'm anxious to dive into the politics this morning.
I'm sure you are.
I look
I am
forward,
so
I look
looking
forward to
forward
these
to this.
Friday chats.
Yes, and I look forward to them too because I tend to talk a little less because especially when folks like you're on because it's just a wealth of information and perspective on what's happening. But Jade, I think you may want to open batting because well, St. Kitts is where the action is at. Motion of no
Boy,
confidence.
motion of no confidence. Did you see us getting to this point?
I can't say that I was surprised. And last weekend, very quickly, on Sunday, Peter was a guest on our Big Issues program, and he made the point. Why did they make him, instead of writing to the Governor General, I mean, certainly Peter can speak to this more eloquently than I, but why not a motion of no confidence? And I did put that question to the Honorable Sean Richards in a private conversation, and he said they're being strategic. Well, I guess this is it. So anyway, I'm going to hush. Peter, you, what's your take on everything?
I mean, we started at a good place, you know. Did it have to come to this? And frankly, I didn't think it would. And this is before last week Sunday. You know, when I was watching the run up and stuff, I had every reason to believe that the sides would have settled this matter in a way that was suitable to both of them. Largely because I think that they all know that an election now is not going to be helpful to any of the three sides, quite frankly. So my assumption is that it is for Dr. Harris a last resort, and it is for these others. They believe that it is the best course of action to follow. I'm not convinced that it's the wisest thing to do, but at the same time, you know, maybe they know stuff that I don't.
Well,
I think
yeah,
that's the
clearly they know
conclusion I've
something
come
that
to.
we all don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But Jade, let me be honest with you. I have not had the benefit of interviewing Dr. Timothy Harris. His side has not been very cooperative. I think you have tried. I have tried. So we have not gotten an opportunity to hear his side. But listening to Mark Brantley and listening to Honorable Sean Richards, Honorable Mark Brantley, Honorable Sean Richards, and reading the letter, I don't get the sense that they were being overly or overboard or unreasonable. They were basically saying that there's something concerns they have, and they want these concerns addressed in order for us to keep this coalition going. What's the thinking or the conversation in St. Kitts about why the Prime Minister has taken the approach he has taken? Or are they blaming Honorable Sean Richards and Mark Brantley for their approach?
Well, it's been a mixture. Some people feel like some of the requests are a little unreasonable, whereas some people feel like, if these requests are just these requests, then things should be able to be worked out in a timely manner so we can get back to governing the country. As you mentioned, I'm not sure about the position of Dr. Harris, as you mentioned, we have all tried to get him, but winning a country is never easy. So maybe he's just too busy currently with all that is on his plate.
He was busy writing that long letter.
Yeah, did you get through all 18 pages?
No, I did not. I confess, I did not.
Peter, did
not.
you?
I read it. Yeah, I read it. I mean, I guess it was easier for me to read because I was familiar with all the issues that they were talking about. And Dr. Harris's style is a bit different. And in a sense, I respect the fact that Dr. Harris was saying a lot less to the media, because my advice certainly would have been to all three of them that everyone needed to say a lot less to the media and say a lot more to each other. Mm-hmm. And the kinds of issues that they were discussing are delicate. And I think that in that context, you don't need to be speaking to the media as much as everyone was. Honestly, I think that was where the whole thing broke down to start with, because, once the conversation came out into the public domain, it was clear that the internal mechanisms had fallen apart. And, I guess that's the indication that by that time I should have realized, look, that this is where it was going to end. My hope was that the internal conversations could have kind of resolved the issues. I mean, there's two fundamental issues. One is the fair share for Nevis. Mm-hmm. And then the other fundamental issue is this whole question of the third term. This is what was presented to the public of St. Kitts and Nevis. Mm-hmm. It was fairly clear, however, that after they sat down to have conversations, that other issues emerged. And one was what happens in the meantime. So in Dr. Harris's letter, he made reference to the fact that he was being given an ultimatum that he hand over leadership by the end of 2023. That to me is not consistent with the two-issue scenario that we discussed. So that was one ultimatum that was put to him that he found to be unreasonable. And the other thing was that, he realigned particular government departments to give ministers control of particular offices and agencies. And that is also inconsistent with the way that it works, where the prime minister determines who sits where. And it was consistent with what was done at the last election. These allocations were made. It was reinforced in the last budget. So I can see that the red line moved. And while we started off talking about a fair share in the third term, ultimately it moved to an erosion of the prime minister's power in the short term. And I think that was where Dr. Harris said, look, I could as well throw in the towel. But all of those details came out in the letter. Those details never came out in the public forum before. Because when we heard the public conversations, it was about a third term and a fair share, both of which to me are relatively easy issues to solve. Because if Dr. Harris doesn't want the third term anyhow, it's really not an issue. You could have dealt with that issue by taking to Parliament a piece of legislation that alters the constitutions to ensure that there's no third term, which is what was intended anyhow. And as far as the fair share is concerned, it's a complicated issue. And frankly, there's no guarantee that whoever comes into office after will have any greater success in dealing with it. Because when you talk about dividing the pie, first thing you're going to know is what exactly does the pie constitute before you can divide it.
Yep.
And it's now a pie that's increasingly under threat. The European Parliament making decisions that are not in the interest of CIP programs far and wide, and so it's perhaps a race against time as well.
Yeah, well, there might not be a pie to share down the road.
Yes, very, very interesting. So, what's your sense, though, Mr. Wickham? I mean, you said you read the letter. And did you find either position unreasonable, the Prime Minister's position or his articulations in the letter, or his positions in the letter, and that of the other members of the coalition? Or do you think that it's something, even at this point, that can be salvaged, or it's going to be a motion of no confidence and elections?
No, I mean, we go in vote motion of no confidence and elections. And to be quite frank, I think we'll probably go to the elections before we go to the motion of no confidence, which is a point of contention, because the way that the Constitution, and I didn't actually realize this until I listened to Denzel Douglas on the radio earlier this week. And the way that the St. Kitts Constitution is set up, it says clearly that a motion has to be passed by government, which ultimately means that these guys are going to Parliament to pass a vote of no confidence in themselves.
Yes.
It's an interesting scenario, but I don't know whether they're prepared to go to that level. So if the current, and I haven't seen the motion, if the current motion that's on the table is a motion of no confidence in Prime Minister Harris, then based on the decision that was made when the previous motion was filed against Denzel Douglas, clearly that will be rejected and they have to go back to the drawing board, which means that you have, in addition to the first 21 days, you may have even longer. And then whenever an official motion is passed, I don't know who advises Dr. Harris, but if I were advising, I would tell him, once the speaker accepts that the motion will be debated, you could as well dissolve Parliament, because it's not going to end well. And it doesn't help to have these people go into Parliament and hear 8 men get one after the other and cuss you. So, I would say, let's let it go, dissolve Parliament and give yourself 90 days. Now, the question is that after that 90 days, who's going to win? And I think that's a real issue that I honestly don't have the answer to the question. But to get back to your original point about the letter, I didn't think the letter was unreasonable. And frankly, from what I have been hearing on the ground in St. Kitts and Nevis, the vast majority of petitions who've taken the time to read the whole thing are saying that, based on what they're seeing from Dr. Harris, the issues in there are not unreasonable in terms of the way that he has presented it. And I think that he did himself well by putting all of that information into the public domain. The challenge is that Dr. Harris tends to be long-winded. And I think that a lot of people don't have the appetite to listen to him for as long as he would like to speak. And the letter was lost on a lot of people. But certainly for those who took time to read it, a lot of people said, but it doesn't seem unreasonable. And there are clearly some fundamental issues that go beyond what is stated, that these guys are just determined to pull the plugs on this thing.
The question, though, is the opposition leader, what's his name? His name escapes me right now. The leader of the Labour Party.
Sean Richards.
No, Dr. Terence Drew.
Terrence Drew.
Dr. Terrence Drew, yes. I think
Right.
I actually had an interview with him when he became the leader. How is he positioning himself in this situation? Or is he just sort of watching the coalition self-destruct and then pick up the pieces after?
Well, from our conversation with Dr. Denzel Douglas this week, we asked a question, which was, do they think that they would join with any of the other parties, more specifically the PLP party? And he said no. He said they will not be joining with any parties in anything. So that's besides that, he also said, Dr. Terrence Drew is the leader of the Labour Party, but Dr. Denzel Douglas is the leader of the opposition. So he also said that he thinks that we should also have an election. He thinks that we should settle it with a vote and let the chips fall where they may.
Right. Mr.
I
Wickham,
listen. No, I listened to the interview, and I think that Dr. Douglas is going to give some trouble. There was a lot about that interview that was unsettling, and it was interesting that he was making pronouncement on the way forward for the Labour Party, and that's not his call. I mean, he's leader of the opposition, fine, but in terms of the election and the way forward and who the Labour Party would associate with, I thought it was a bit presumptuous for him to make calls regarding what the Labour Party would do going forward. And I can tell you that if you have a split in terms of numbers, way that we are seeing it likely to fall if an election is called, you could very well find Dr. Douglas giving some trouble. I don't get the impression that he is excited about Drew's leadership as the rest of St. Kitts. And to me, that's a huge problem because I get the impression that St. Kitts, certainly the Labour Party supporters, are excited about Drew's leadership.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that Dr. Douglas is that excited. And to me, the interview was an opportunity for him to swear allegiance. And I found the conversation was taken in all kinds of different ways. I mean, all of these false equivalents about preparing himself now under this current vote of no confidence with Dr. Harris. I thought it was a bit of an intellectual dishonesty because there's no comparison. He held a vote of no confidence for almost 2 years without having it. We haven't even heard the one from Dr. Harris yet. And then to suggest that the reasons why Dr. Harris is under pressure now were the same reasons why he wanted him out of the cabinet. Come on, you've been prime minister for 20 years. When Dr. Harris was raising concerns, and they are not identical to the concerns that you're having now. Certainly if you read the letter, it tells us that there's a fundamental difference. So that interview was very, very, very illuminating for me. And as I said, I'm anxious to see, where the chips fall. But I'm looking at a scenario in which you have 40,000 people in your electorate, give or take. 12,000 of those people live overseas in different places, right? The last time that they weren't voting, you had a significant reduction in your voter turnout because these 12,000 people couldn't vote. You have on the mainland, you have 3 political parties, and in Nevis you have 2 political parties. That's mass confusion politically. And the cleavages are not clear, so I don't know who people would turn to. And I think that there's a lot of uncertainty in the political marketplace in St. Kitts and Nevis now. And, within that uncertainty, any party that gets 3 seats, basically can be part of some kind of arrangement going forward. And it could very well work out that on the mainland, you have 2 parties with 3 seats. And, that's how, and precisely, and that would be very, very interesting,
Dr. Terrence Drew, Jade, has he been vocal? In terms of his leadership style, have you gotten a sense of his leadership style, either yourself or Mr. Wickham? Why am I saying Mr. Wickham? I'm accustomed to calling you Peter.
Please,
yeah, sorry. Have either of you gotten a sense of his leadership style? Is he asserting himself on the Labour Party, or is the shadow of Dr. Douglas still looming large? I think Peter was kind of suggesting that in his previous responses. Jade?
Well, I think he's been out there. As Dr. Douglas has said that he has a leader, which is Dr. Drew, and so they are putting their full confidence in him. Whatever decisions he makes or whatever stance he takes, they support him fully. So I think he's been on the front line more so than Dr. Douglas currently. Of
Okay.
course, Dr. Douglas is still going to be
Dr.
seen
Douglas.
as a, a big somebody with huge stronghold because he has been the opposition leader for so long. But I do think that Dr. Drew is cementing his position, and he is, trying to take up the mantle and push the party forward.
Okay. Peter, what is this? Is this an obsession with people who have PhDs or doctorates in St. Kitts?
Yeah,
You have
I
Dr.
find
Douglas,
so.
you have
Boy,
Dr. Timothy Harris currently, and now
yeah,
you have Dr. Terence Drew. What's up with
that's
that?
very true. And in the competition, there was a doctor as well in the competition within the Labour Party. So it's interesting. And then the alternative in the Palm is Sean Richards, and no doctor in there,
No,
either Sean,
no, no.
Lindsey Grant, or Jonelle Powell. So maybe that's the thing. I don't know if the petitions will have to tell us if they only entertaining doctors
It certainly appears that
of
way.
medicine or philosophy.
Correct,
But
correct.
Pete, sorry, Darren. I just wanted to ask Peter a quick question. When it in terms of the current monk situation, you don't find that the two are different? The one with Dr. Douglas and the current one with Dr. Harris?
Sorry, the motion of no confidence. Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Do
I
you?
find it very different. It's very
Oh,
different. Yeah, it's very different. In the case of Dr. Douglas, the motion was brought, and then the individuals went to the president, the governor general, after asking the governor general to encourage them to have it heard. And certainly, when I listened to them at that time, they were saying very clearly, either debate the vote of no confidence or call an election. You can do either. Dr. Douglas was saying that he wasn't ready to call an election yet, and that he needed to do a few things first. After he got his budget, he still said, he needed to do a few things first, and then we finally found out what he needed to do was to change the boundaries, which the court said no to. I think the issues were fundamentally different because there was a clear breakup of his of confidence within the cabinet. There were two senior members of the cabinet that walked, and it raised issues of significant concern. The management of the SIDF and the Citizenship by Investment Agreement, Citizen Investment Funds, was one of the fundamental issues that they had raised at the time. And I mean, a lot of those questions still have not been answered. So I can agree that the motions are different. I find that this one is considerably less justified if you consider the fact that this is a government that's 1 year old. This is a government that just presented a budget and defended it, while Dr. Douglas's was a government that was 20 years old, and people were raising fundamental issues. I mean, the Citizenship by Investment brought in hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think that there were some serious concerns regarding how a lot of those monies were being spent. The issue now is whether Nevis should get more of that money, but the reality is that Nevis can't say that they haven't gotten any. And I'm curious to know how my brothers and sisters in St. Kitts on the mainland feel about this whole distribution, because you went from a situation where you were getting absolutely nothing to a situation now where you've gotten a significant chunk of money. And I mean, you're saying that we can't even negotiate regarding how much more you should get, because the door isn't closed. But what we are hearing is that, this is completely out of order. We can't negotiate, and we have to go to an election to get it settled. And God forbid the Labour Party comes back into power, which is entirely possible.
hold on. Did you say God forbid?
Well, God forbid, and I said God forbid in a very not I have a vested interest one way or the other, because I went on to say that it's entirely possible. And when I finish the statement, you will understand why I said it.
Okay, go
Because
ahead. Let me
if
hear the
they
rest of
get into
this.
power, if they get back into power, it is very, very likely that Nevis will be getting even less than they're getting now, because consistent with the position before is that they weren't getting any. So that's why I said God forbid. So if your concern is a fair share, I think that the worst thing that could happen for them is for them to go forward and for Labour to get into office in coalition with anyone else. And then Nevis finds himself in a situation where they ain't getting nothing.
So you
Or
don't
they
feel
get
like
it
there
less.
could be a situation where if the Labour Party wins, that the share can continue to increase?
But the Labour Party hasn't committed themselves to that. And if I look at Labour Party policy in the past, Labour Party dealt with SIDF, with CBI funds as a separate allotment. So I don't know. Dr. Drew hasn't spoken to the issue, but
I was just
clear
about to
part of
say
this
there is
thing,
a new there's a new leader. So and
he has to
as we
speak
are
to the
going into a
issue.
new cycle, we just have to wait to see what they have to
Yeah.
bring to the table as well.
But the interesting thing is that a lot of this problem has been created because Dr. Harris has essentially allocated, he has taken the citizenship by investment into your national budget. Okay? So as part of your national inflows, and what is budgeted for Nevis is budgeted out of the total consolidated fund allotment. That's how I understand it. That's what has created the complexity, because in the past the funds were there. It was a separate little slush fund, and you could take up this person and buy computers, and you could do the other and whatnot. So it was easy to say, give Nevis the fair share. The fair share is complicated now because of the fact that they have agreed, and they agreed as a cabinet, to budget it properly, because the legal way is to do it through the consolidated fund, so that the opposition led thing could investigate it, basically, so that Parliament can account for those monies. That's what's being done, and that's what's creating the problem. So I'm saying that if Labor has to say, will it go back to the old way of saying we will deal with that as a separate slush fund, or alternatively, will we allow Parliament to have oversight as it is having now? And if that is the case, the idea of a fair share is going to be very much more complicated to calculate than they think.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot.
Right.
Unpacking.
Even
It's
it
a
is a
lot.
lot, and even
It's
so
a lot.
now the cabinet isn't well. Let me not say it's not functioning, but there has been talk of people not going to cabinet, and how somebody wants to know how much longer can the country function without a full cabinet. How do you see that playing out? Because in the last with the last situation with the motion of no confidence against Dr. Douglas, there was a functioning cabinet, but now it seems like the cabinet is, falling apart, as they have brought a motion of no confidence against themselves, basically, because you can't bring one against just one political person. So how do you see our cabinet functioning with this unrest that is currently happening?
Yeah, that was another point in terms of the interview that I took issue with, because I was in St. Kitts a lot of time where that issue was going on, and this idea about cabinet functioning well is not something that I can necessarily support. The cabinet, for all intents and purposes, during that time was Denzel Douglas. The cabinet, for all intents and purposes, now going forward, will probably be Timothy Harris. I think that the first opportunity that Timothy Harris has, he will fire those people, right? When you fire all of them, essentially you're firing all of your ministers. It means that the workload is going to be divided between himself and Aquila and whoever else remains, the Attorney General and whatnot. And they will have to run the affairs of state for 90 days. It's not going to be very different to the situation that pertained over the 2 years when you had essentially ministers, but ultimately all Denzel Douglas was, he said he was 10 man in one, and that was exactly what he was doing. No, don't forget, he said these things, I'm not making this up. He said he's 10 man in one, right? So the idea that Dr. Harris now can be 8 man in one is something that I don't see as entirely unreasonable. And I can tell you, I've been impressed at the fact that, notwithstanding the fact that you don't have a sitting cabinet, you have initiatives in tourism taking place. You have CPL being announced by Jonal Powell, who is about to pass a vote of no confidence in itself. Sean Richards is making announcements in terms of things he was doing in his ministry. The Ministry of Education is functioning. So the reality of the situation is that, contrary to popular belief, St. Kitts and Nevis is not falling apart. And I challenge anyone to say how. The government is functioning, people are going, these ministers are still being paid, public servants said just the other day, y'all get double salary. So, this thing, contrary to the thing, Dr. Douglas was talking on the program and saying, this is so tragic, cabinet isn't functioning. Come off it. The cabinet in St. Kitts invariably is one person. In the Labour Party, it was one person, and I said as soon as he gets himself together, he probably will fire all of these people, and he will have to assume control of all of these ministries. So, by fair, y'all let him off real easy on that interview. All of these are things I would have challenged him on.
Well, two things. We were pressed for time because we had the upcoming interview with the Honorable Sean Richards right after, so we couldn't stay on. But some people on the live seem to think that you have an issue with Dr. Douglas.
Well, but people thought so. They thought so before. But I used to work for Dr. Douglas, so why should that been an issue? And I was always very clear in saying I thought Dr. Douglas made an outstanding contribution to the development of the country. No question about that. I still enjoy a good relationship with Dr. Douglas. The point is that I'm a person who speaks the truth, and I would tell a person when he's wrong. And I think that Dr. Douglas did well, but there came a point when I think he crossed the line. And the idea of having a vote of no confidence on the table for 2 years is crossing the line. And he said it on the interview himself that he felt that was a big part of the reason why he lost the election. So it's not about loving or hating Dr. Douglas. I admire the gentleman. He was the longest serving prime minister in the Caribbean. How can you not admire him? Well, this is before the 5P by my good friend Ralph Gonzalez. But if we're gonna break it down and give a critique of leadership, I have to be honest and fair and give a critique of both sides. Dr. Harris has made mistakes. There's no question about that. He's made mistakes, and I said some of it. But the people who are in your gallery, they want to see what they want to see, and if that's what they want to think, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with Dr. Douglas.
Well, Peter, you're accustomed to that, right?
Yeah.
When you speak the truth about someone, if it's not flattering, the supporters of that side are going to come to you and say that you're biased. That's how it is. But let me ask you, are you conducting or planning to conduct any polls in St. Kitts, or have you been invited to, or is it something you cannot
I can't say. I can't comment. I mean, it's entirely possible that I have polls already. But what I would say, though, is that the situation is very, very fluid and very dynamic. And I think that anything that I would have been to say before changes now. Because there needs to be a complete realignment. And once that realignment takes place, then you have to do a new set of investigations to see how people are falling.
Right. Completely understood. Jade? Yeah. Well, for us, it'll be your last question because we'll have to go. I'll have to go. Let me put it that way, because I have some music to play after this.
Oh, that's fine. Peter, how do you seeing us come out of this next election cycle? Because I'm pretty sure all of us are of the same opinion that we are going into an election cycle, no matter what. How do you see the chips falling for this one?
But that's the question, Jade. I don't know. I really don't know what to say is likely to happen. But what I can tell you is that your democracy is strong. It's robust. Your economy is one of the strongest in the OECS, and I don't believe that anything is going to change that. And you have good options on the table, because I think regardless of whether it is Sean Richards, Dr. Drew, or Dr. Harris that emerges as leader coming forward, I think that you guys are in good hands. So for that much, I can't say who will win, but I know that ultimately St. Kitts and Nevis will survive and will continue to prosper.
All right. On that note.
Good note.
Yes. A good note, yes. We're going to take our leave. I don't know if Jade and Peter are going to continue to dance, but we
could chat about some new developments that came out yesterday. If Peter has time for me.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem.
And you didn't bring them out during our link up, but it's all right. I won't be jealous. Certainly won't. Yeah. Let me leave that there. Gentlemen, lady, have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy the weekend. It's a Labor Day weekend here in Antigua. I suspect it is in St. Kitts too, is it not? On Barbados? What's happening?
It is a holiday weekend for us as well.
All right, fantastic. So Peter, enjoy. I see you have an interesting post on Facebook with you got a new cat.
Yes, I have a new cat.
And you have your friends having a good laugh at you. One thing, Peter, you take things on the
chin. That's right.
You take things on the chin. I gotta admire you for that. Anyway, take care. Jane, have a wonderful weekend. Be safe.
You as well.
Blessings. It's now 8:45 in Antigua and Barbuda. This is
yes. So Peter, I'm not sure if you saw the latest with Dr. Richards reacting to the response. I think it was from the speaker when he said that he needed legal advice on the, I think it was the motion of no confidence. But I can read some of. Sorry.
Yeah, I know that there was a statement that the AG, the Governor General, said he would need to take, or the Speaker said he would need to take legal advice on the motion of no confidence. That's right. So Sean Richards reacted to it.
Yes, and I could read some of that. And then I have another question. But it says Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Sean Richards has responded to the letter from the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly, indicating that Speaker Honorable Michael Perkins will be seeking legal advice on the motion of no confidence filed by 6 elected representatives of the People's Action Movement and the Concerned Citizens Movement. He said there is legislation which governs the bringing of a motion of no confidence before the National Assembly, which speaks to 21 days. What I also find to be quite interesting in that the last time a motion of no confidence came before the National Assembly, it was in 2020 when the opposition brought a motion of no confidence in the government, and in less than 5 days the motion was heard, said Richards in a conversation with Win yesterday. Richards added, one would hope that just as the Parliament heard the motion of no confidence within less than a week, that similar treatment would be accorded with this motion of no confidence. Honorable Michael Perkins, Speaker of the National Assembly, is said to be seeking legal advice on the motion of no confidence filed by the majority of elected representatives of the National Assembly, declaring that they no longer support Dr. Timothy Harris as St. Kitts and Nevis's Prime Minister.
Yeah, I am not surprised, and I think that the colonel has anyone seen the motion of no confidence?
I think I actually have a copy somewhere in my phone. Let me see if I could find that. I think I may have I think I saw it yesterday, which is quite long. As all of the letters apparently coming out of our government.
Well, let me not Jade, let me not take you up with that too long. Look, I agree with Sean Richards' point that if a motion is valid, it has to be heard within 5 days, within 21 days. I think that the Constitution is very clear, the laws are very clear on that. And I think that there's a moral imperative to hear it quickly. The challenge is that the motion that came from Dr. Douglas was relatively easy because it was challenging the government. It was a motion of no confidence in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. I think that the question here might be the fact that you're having a motion which is being brought by members of a government that appears to be directed at the Prime Minister. And you have legal precedent already where this was done before. The motion had to be redrafted and be rebrought. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason why I am saying that I think that the details, the devil is in the detail, and the detail is whether or not the motion appears to be going after a prime minister or appears to be going after a government. If it is going after a prime minister, then the motion is not valid. And I don't know that you can hold them to 21 days because it means it has to be redrafted. So I suspect the legal advice may very well relate to that. No, I don't know what Honorable Perkins is his concern is, but based on listening to Dr. Douglas on your show, and he made it clear that at the time they sought a legal opinion when the motion was brought, and it was made clear that the matter was a matter of the motion being brought to the Prime Minister. I went back and I looked at the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis, and it is clear, as Dr. Douglas said, that the motion has to be in the government. So this is the concern I feel that is being addressed now, and I'm saying that, you know, as much as Sean Richards may not want to, if the court or if the legal opinion says it is invalid, then they would need to go back and bring a vote of no confidence against the government that they are part of, and I also think that at that point in time they need to resign from the government, quite frankly. Because you can't be bringing a motion against a government and continuing to be part of the government.
Did you see the letter that was proposed by Mr. Hamilton? His response?
I saw Mr. Hamilton. Yes. Yeah.
What did you think of his response?
I mean, it didn't vary significantly from what I've been saying. If you think about it, you know. Gene has a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience in these matters, and he seemed to have been saying with a greater degree of eloquence ultimately what I am saying, you know, that there will be disagreements, but it comes down to a question of practicality. And if you feel that it is in your best interest to pull a plug at this point in time and go into an election, he does not appear to think it's going to be a good idea for them, and I don't think it is either. You know, and I mean, his letter was illuminating because, as I said, he said concisely and with greater eloquence a lot of the things I've been saying on the program today. That, you know, as much as you would disagree and argue about different factors, in the final analysis, if you believe as a political party that you can't go into an election and win, then why bother? You know, and the history of votes of no confidence across the region and the history of political confusion has always been reflected in that reality. They happen in a situation where you know that you can go into an election and you can win. We look at what happened in Barbados with Erskine Sandiford in 1994. While a vote of no confidence was brought against him, it was debated in Parliament, and he lost the vote of no confidence. Now, the Constitution of Barbados is slightly different in that you can bring a vote of no confidence in a prime minister, and you can remove the prime minister specifically without pulling up the whole government. He still has the right to call the election. What Sandiford did was he determined that, you know, it was not going to work out in his favor. He would pull the plug, and he took the party into an election, which they lost. At the same time, this was a government that had been in Parliament already had served a term previously, and he had well, a good part of the second term. So one presumes that he felt that by that time he had had enough.
There was something else very interesting that I found coming out of the last press conference, and somebody just actually brought it up to me again. It says it is a question about the proposed Republican system that the PAM party brought up. They said historically Republican systems favor the wealthy, no fair share for all, as the top decides who gets what at the bottom. How would that be better for the people here? That's the question posed by one of our listeners.
But what you're doing is you're criticizing the system of government, which essentially is one that gives all the pot winner take all. And I believe in the interview, Dr. Douglas also addressed this whole idea of the winner take all system, which was Salvi Ryan wrote about that. Professor Ryan wrote about that in a book. That's the system of government that we have in the Caribbean. I don't particularly like it, but that's the way it is. Now, if I'm in a position to change it, then certainly I would. And I would think that if you, as Kittitions and divisions, want to do constitutional reform, these are the kinds of things that you should seek to address. But to say that this is at the center of this issue, no, I don't necessarily agree, because regardless of who takes over, the system is going to be pretty much the same, you know. The thing that worries me about your system is that because of the size of St. Kitts and Nevis, because of the margins, your system is so heavily open to influence from outside. And when I say outside, I talk about Kittitions and divisions that live overseas. And that's where I have a worry, because it then comes down to a question of who has enough money to bring them in, and who can bring in more, ultimately has a better chance of winning.
So do you see a situation where they are able to fix this without getting to the point where we have an election and people resigning and all of that? I do, because I think Honorable Sean Richards mentioned that there is still some time, and he's still hoping, I might be paraphrasing here, but I think he said he's still hoping for a situation where this can be resolved without having to go to a general election.
What I think Sean Richards believes is that the motion of no confidence will be a sufficiently large threat that the prime minister may say, okay, well, look, let me step aside and let someone else lead. You guys take over, and I would just sit in the back seat as a an additional driver, and you can continue on to an election. If you do that, then we can withdraw the vote of no confidence. That's not going to happen. If that is what it is, and if the motion is a threat on top of the other threats that were made, you know, I don't see that as you can't negotiate in that way, because the basis for negotiation is always when you're negotiating, the last thing that you need to do is to take action and then say, let's negotiate back, right? You negotiate with a threat in mind. So the threat is the vote of no confidence. The point is that from the time you play that card, there's no turning back. And
but
my
you don't think they tried to negotiate
skills,
before? What?
Well, but they said that they had, and the negotiations brought down. So to me, it is what it is.
That is interesting. Because
right, I'm just reading the letter that came from the clerk of Parliament, and it does make clear that they are attempting to review the resolution to ensure that it meets the stipulated requirements of the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. So the reality is that the legal advice is consistent with what I was expecting, that they're trying to see whether it is consistent with that, and you do have legal precedent in that regard. So my feeling is that this is really what this reinforces what. So I want to thank the gentleman that just sent me that letter.
Okay. Well, Peter, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting couple of months. I don't see this as well as anybody else. I don't see this being resolved without us going back to the polls, unfortunately. I mean, we just came from them, and I don't think people want to go back, but ultimately it's not up to us. If the government and the politicians that we have elected cannot come to any resolution, then back to the polls we go.
I'm happy to hear that it doesn't excite you as much as it doesn't excite me. And
nobody wants to have an election. Nobody wants to go through an election. It drains the country. And we are literally fresh out of a pandemic where we had to, spend tons and tons of money. Oh, well, somebody on the live is saying people are ready to go back. So maybe it's just me and you who don't feel like we want to go back there, but seems like the citizens say otherwise. So we will just have to stand by and see what happens. Yes, that's all we could do at this point. But Peter, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
All right, Jade, my pleasure, and it's good to chat with you, and I look forward to future Fridays.
Yes, because I'm pretty sure we will have tons.
Yeah.
Yes, so guys, bye, Peter.
Okay, take care. Right, bye-bye.
Yes, guys, it's time for a little break right here on Island Tea. Stick and stay. We'll be right back with more conversation.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
To avoid getting the coronavirus, remember to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently before and after preparing food, after using the toilet or changing a diaper for a baby, sick person, or the elderly, after blowing your nose, and after leaving large gatherings or moving away from persons who appear ill. Encourage others to wash their hands and also use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer of 60 to 70% solution. Stay away from events having large gatherings of people. You can expose yourself to more possible infections in large groups. Also, avoid sharing cutlery, cups, glassware, etc. with others. Viruses can linger on these items and may be transferred this way. Avoid shaking and holding hands, and hugging or keeping an infected person in close proximity. This is a message from the Ministry of Health and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
It's tool season at Horswood's Building and Leisure Centers, and we're making it easy to get the right tools for your home improvement. For this April Tools Month, hundreds of tools store-wide have been slashed by 25% off. That's 25% off tools store-wide, from drills to cutters, wrenches to hammers, and much more. It's tool season at Horswood's this April with 25% off store-wide on tools. Horswood's Building and Leisure Centers, St. Kitts and Nevis' favorite home improvement stores, making home improvement easy. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Welcome back to Island Tea, guys, with your faves, Azim and Jade. Azim is out today doing things over in the Tortolas. Yes, so it's just myself and some friends in the studio today. Good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, so you guys are joining me on behalf of the Tourism Authority because you all went on a nice little adventure recently. But introduce yourselves to the public so they can know who I'm speaking with.
Hi everyone, my name is Christelle
Speaking
Joseph.
to the mic.
Hi everyone, my name is Christelle Joseph.
Hi everyone, good morning, and my name is Bijan Bass.
And yes, as I mentioned, you guys went on a little adventure recently. You guys went. Where did you guys go exactly?
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere around the island, basically.
And what was this for?
Well, basically, this was for the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, where they brought in their media team, basically, and we had the opportunity to shadow them for a few days and, just gain some further experience.
Well, tell us, what was this experience like, having to shadow such a big company and knowing what they do and seeing what they do? How was this experience for you guys?
Well, for me, it was something to look forward to. We really didn't know what to expect as it was both our first time doing this. And so it was more nerve-wracking at first. And then when you got in, it was just a thrilling experience, I would say, because every day was something different to look forward to. And imagine working alongside professionals who would have had these experiences for years, and you being, a newbie, not knowing what to expect. It was just a lot to learn during that time.
What about you, Bijan? How was this experience for you?
It was definitely, as Crystal mentioned, it was thrilling. It was very adventurous. Sometimes the workload seemed, huge, but I mean, that's what we went for. So I don't think we got anything that we didn't expect.
Yeah, I could imagine having to shadow this company just for a few days and knowing all the things that they have to capture. It probably felt a little bit overwhelming at first, but I'm pretty sure that you guys got the hang of it. I have full confidence in both of you. And so what was your favorite part of this experience?
For me, my favorite part of the experience would have been sometimes the sunset chasing. Some scenes where we had to get those sunset shots in, and golden hour. You see how vast the area is and how beautiful the areas are at sunset. So it was really fascinating.
Yes, and I would say my favorite parts were when I had to independently style someone.
Oh.
Yes, when Massey was busy with another model or other models, and I had to make the independent decision of, okay, we're choosing this, we're choosing that. So knowing that they had that confidence in me was really awesome.
And so, what was your biggest takeaway from this experience? What would you know? Take from this and apply to your careers and your life?
Well, for me, it was definitely a confidence booster to know, I could be implanted into a production team and take reins, as Chriselle said, you could be independent and make some decisions within the team. And so, working well with even, I wouldn't call them strangers, but a new family, you could just slot right in there, understand what everyone's roles are. And you just manage yourself appropriately as well. So you make everyone's job easier as well. So I think that was my biggest takeaway, knowing that I have the confidence to, I won't say migrate, but like I said, just slot in and integrate elsewhere and just seamlessly make things work within a production company.
For me, my biggest take was the fact that I would have been able to implement some of the things that I learned into my personal brand and at work and just my everyday life. One of the biggest things that I realized or I learned was how to be organized. And that might sound very normal or typical. Everyone should know how to be organized, but the work that was put in place to be organized, having a plan B, plan C, you had to implement your critical thinking skills on the spot, making decisions and all of that. So being organized is not just, let me plan my day, but in planning you have to plan other aspects of what might happen and you might not expect. So that was my biggest takeaway, because for the brand that I'm building, that is needed, and even for at work. So it was really good to get a different outlook of how to be organized in your everyday life.
Why do you guys think these types of experience are important to people that are living here, the locals, who get a first-hand look at the work that goes into building the tourism brand?
Well, for me, I know for many years, as a child, I was hearing about brain drain. People always getting skills, but they don't have a way to implement them or a place at home to implement them. And so for me, I was really proud to, take certain skills and those takeaways that they were happy to share with us. I really must say, they really did share a lot of information with us. And it's important for us as locals to help develop our own product. Don't leave it necessarily in the hands of others or just word of mouth, but where you can play a role, you do your best and you offer your country, you offer what the country has to offer, So that's it for me, Brent.
Yeah, I totally agree with Bijan, because imagine tourism had to bring professionals from the outside to do a project like this, which they did amazingly well at. However, with us having that insight or having that hands-on experience, then let's say other persons get that experience as well. Let's say other interns might get that experience. Then in the future, there won't be a need to invest that large amount of money in bringing persons in. You already have the your locals who are experienced and who have the knowledge as to how to handle a project such like this. So hopefully, maybe 5 years from now, it would be the locals taking charge of that
It would
project.
be you guys.
Exactly.
It would be you guys. So tell me, where did you guys go on this journey? If you can share, I'm not sure if y'all had to sign any NDAs. But
not exactly. In terms of places, we went to Brimstone Hill, we went to Ketition Hill, we went to hotels, we went to Carabel Boutique, all the touristy places that you would expect a tourist to want to go or to see. But one of my favorite places, or my favorite stop, was at, what's his name again, the footballer? Antigua Harris, at his community, where there was somewhat of a, what was it called, Bijan?
I don't want to say a jamboree, but it was just more of, a community-based experience where, we went in to do a job, but with everyone around, his family, his friends, it just became you're one of us,
Right.
just
Oh, so that-
just integration.
That family atmosphere.
Yeah,
Right.
nobody cared what you came to do. Nobody cared, how long you wanted to be there. It was like, hey, come and have a eat and a drink with us.
Right, and I feel like the crew there got to experience the authenticity of the local experience, because when they come, when most tourists come, they go to the places that I called earlier,
the tourist spots,
right, the
yeah.
tourist spots. But imagine you can stop at a place in the community and have fried back neck, Johnny cake,
ooh, y'all making me
there was
hungry.
conky. So then the crew experiencing it was just a different thing. It was like a big lime. It wasn't even work. They were intrigued in the different stuff that we eat as locals. They even tried stinking toe. No, I'm just saying how authentic it was. And for me, that was my favorite moment during the experience. And with all the other places that we visited, I would say that was my favorite spot.
Oh, sounds exciting. Y'all couldn't save her back for me?
we know where to send you.
Yes. So, do you guys plan to further any of the experience that you got? Do you guys plan to implement these into y'all careers? Pull some stuff that y'all learned. Oh, somebody's asking if they had trim mutton, by the way.
Oh, no.
I wish.
That's where y'all draw
wish.
the line.
Not at that time.
Some were willing to try, but we didn't get any.
No. But for me, I would say that I was even able to, right after the experience, I got a job with another local who does styling. I'm not saying who the person is because
That's
right now I
fine,
can't
that's
disclose what project we're working on. But during that experience, I was sharing it with Instagram on my Deal Finder page, and someone,
Which I love, by the way.
Thank you. And someone actually reached out to me and they were interested in partnering with me to work on a project. So immediately after the internship, I jumped right into styling after, and I was able to use all the tricks and things that I learned from the internship into the project that we were working on. So, of course, I'm already implementing what I learned, and I do plan to continue to implement all of the cool stuff that I learned. I'm still in contact with Massey, who was the stylist, and she was telling me about what she's doing. She continuously shares ideas with me. So honestly, it was a really beneficial opportunity, and I'm so happy that we got the experience and the opportunity, so.
Yeah, as for myself, I was lucky enough to, I would say, ramp with the boss, Raf. And he came in as a photographer, and, there's no information that he withheld from me. So even right after, just like Crystal, I was able to implement certain shooting styles into my photography. And I even stopped throwing away so many pictures right now, because he would take like 40 photos in 10 seconds. And I'm asking him why. And he's like, you never know.
You never know.
You never know. Something you might have just missed, and this frame captures it better than something else. And so I scrutinizing my pictures a lot more. I'm changing the orientation because, for tourism in particular, sometimes you need to leave space for print and for ads and so on and so forth. So definitely already implemented, and I hope, we could introduce and keep these things rolling on the scene for ourselves and the community.
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like this initiative was very important. It gave the experience to people living here, what most wouldn't be able to get. Because usually these shoots happen very fast. They come in, they do what they need to do, and they leave. And all we see is the finished products.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't really have people who were a part of the process and getting the first-hand experience, the very important and educational first-hand experience that you guys did. So I'm very happy that you got to go on this journey. What would you tell people who are a little skeptical about partnering or taking on these initiatives, because it was an internship? And sometimes when people hear internships, they're a little skeptical because they feel like they're not going to get any money, but they don't realize they get other things that would be priceless at the end of the day. What would you tell people who have a little skepticism when it comes to these type of things?
I would say don't be. The amount of networking opportunities that presented themselves, Even with the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, just seeing certain persons come from within the office, come on site, and us even interacting with them and, letting them know how it's going. And it's just, I don't want to say it's a way to put your foot in the door, but it creates opportunities, and it makes you, just like I said it did before, it makes you more confident in your own skill because you're only there to improve, right, at the end of the day. So don't be too skeptical about it. It's a great opportunity. I would tell anybody, jump in head first. If it's what you love, if it's in the field that you love, you don't lose anything by improving yourself. So I'd encourage anyone to jump at the opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And even during the journey, as I said, I was sharing with my followers what I was up to, even on my WhatsApp status. And of course, persons had feedback and concerns as to what you asked, Jade. And for me, I always say, look at the bigger picture. Don't think about the tangible stuff that you could gain in the moment, but look at how this experience could add some form of value to your life. And as he said, if you're in the field, you will realize the benefits of that. I just shared earlier that right after or during my experience, someone reached out to me, and that gives me future opportunities. And as he said, the networking aspect of it, that's invaluable. These people, when you speak to them, they're 20 years in, 25 years in, and you're like, what? Yeah, so when you are able to connect with people who already have the knowledge and experience, and they're willing to share, they're willing to let you know what to expect, what not to expect, and all these things, you can't beat that.
Right, and if I may add, just because we went under certain roles didn't mean that those were the only people that we spoke to. I was able to speak with the stylist, I was able to speak with the makeup artist, and everybody was just so welcoming. So you make connections, you learn about other roles, and I don't know, it was a splendid time.
Honestly, it was.
Well, I'm so happy that you guys got to experience this and was able to come here and share your experience with the listening and viewing audience, because the Tourism Authority did come before you guys and they mentioned that this initiative would be taking place. And of course, we looked forward to an update. So I was so happy when Janet told me, like, you guys were coming to share and talk to us. Guys, unfortunately, time has surpassed us, and I know you guys have a busy day ahead of y'all, nonetheless. So, any last words before you guys depart with me?
Yes, for sure. Definitely, I want to take this opportunity to extend a hearty thank you to the tourism authorities for coming up with this initiative. We all benefited tremendously, and we look forward to this being a continuous process where other persons too can gain the experience and the knowledge that we got and the wisdom. And so we're really, really thankful. Well, I am thankful. I know Bijan is as well. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop with us. I'm pretty sure as the Tourism Authority may, present another initiative like this, please feel free to reach out to us as well, because it's a each one teach one scenario. We don't want it to stop at us. So please feel free.
Yeah. And next time y'all carry me. Carry me on the journey, please. I would have loved to be there to see all the things that were taking place. But I also look forward to the finished product, knowing that you guys had a hand in developing and creating all of these things that we're about to see. So congratulations, guys, on completing this journey. And we look forward to see what you guys do in the future.
So do we. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we'll take a very short break and be right back with more Island Tea right here on Win Media SKN. Stick and stay.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Welcome back to today's edition of Island Tea, guys, with your faves, Azim and Jade. As I mentioned earlier, my co-host is out, and he will be back with us next week. But we are jumping back into some conversation. I know you guys could not wait to call in. I see the phone lines lighting up. I see the lives going crazy. But guys, please remember to be respectful when speaking to myself and each other, because I will curse you out. Let's not forget, I can curse you out. So, guys, feel free to call in and chat with me. Make your comments brief and respectable. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 465-0989, 662-0989, and 762-0989. I am taking your calls. Come on, guys. I knew you guys have been waiting to talk to me about this morning's discussion and the developments over the last couple of days while we were out, because, you know, politics is a hot topic currently in the country. Politics is a hot topic in the country, guys. So feel free to give me your comments. Let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Hey, good morning, Jade.
Good morning.
I'm
good
so
morning.
happy to be the first to call. Good morning to all the listeners at home and abroad. Now, this is the non-politic part. The last set of guests you had, I was really impressed. You know, and I wish that you when you did with CPL, by the way, working with the next CPL.
I can't speak to that as yet.
Yeah, but, you know, so maybe you need to share your experiences much more. And what they said, what I found interesting is that sometimes people value the tangible, the monetary part more than what they get in the future. Because sometimes you listen to opportunities offered and nobody taking it. Well, nobody going to pay me, you know, that kind of thing.
That is true.
But you see, we have to have a long-term view. If you could just imagine your future in the next 5 years, what will go on your resume? You know, I usually encourage my children and say, look, this thing may not pay, but do it. You improve in your resume. I mean, even just that. Because in other countries, even to go to a college, they want to know, what else do you do other than study?
Yep, that is true.
And your employers, when they say, look, you're multi-skilled, you're not just an accountant, you're an accountant who could dance, you're an accountant, you know? So I want to impress upon our people, whether young or old, dollars is not always the aim. You're invited to go on a committee, you know, how many committees, how many clubs go down because nobody volunteering. We need a spirit of volunteerism. And the young people have got to think beyond. Because St. Kitts is small, you know. Maybe some of you think St. Kitts is big because you haven't gone to a big country. And the things that people got to go through just to get a foot in the door. In St. Kitts, the door wide open.
Yep, we have scholarships, we have volunteering opportunities, we have lots of things happening here, but it's just that people don't want to take a part sometimes.
I hear Branty complaining you get all these scholarships and nobody taking them.
Yep.
But then they go and they put a chain around their neck called Development Bank. 10 years. Sometimes the job you get here could barely feed you and pay student loan. You know, there's a program I listen to on, I don't know, a Jamaican thing. Jamaicans all over the world, you know, all up in Alaska and so. People teaching English as a second language. We take it for granted here. There are people out in China, different places, who pay you good money to teach their children English because they want the people to be international. So when you offer the chance, you go to Taiwan, you come back, you don't even teach anybody what you learn. You know? So I'm encouraging our people, think far, think deep. Money devalues by the day. You worse now with high inflation. So I must commend the young people, the two young persons. I don't know how young they are, but
they're young, man. They're pretty young.
That is good. Because if girl, they pay you. Girl, they work so hard and they ain't even pay you. Networking. we don't think about networking in St. Kitts, you know. Networking gets you into contact. It don't mean just computer. Networking means you have contact in other places that matter. So don't pass up an opportunity to volunteer, to give your time, to learn new skills. A multi-skilled person is better than a single-skilled person. All right, so that's what I'll have to say.
Oh, thank you, Miss Henry. Thank you so much. Yeah, that is true, guys. When the opportunity arises, be sure to take them. Be sure to grab them up because we don't know when they're going to arise again. But yes, guys, remember you can always call in. Feel free to call in and chat with me today, as you guys are my co-hosts on this beautiful rainy Friday morning. Let's jump into another article while we wait on some calls. So it says moral restoration movement to possibly contest federal election. The newest political party to enter the national political arena, the Moral Restoration Movement, will be contesting the upcoming Nevis Island Assembly election. Having launched the party in 2021, Mr. Samuel Keynes, political leader of the Moral Restoration Movement, in an exclusive interview with Win FM, declared that the party is ready to contest at least 2 seats in the upcoming local election. The Moral Restoration Movement, we launched in July 2021 on Von Radio. We had the initial meeting or had the initial representation at Von Radio, in which it was just myself. We subsequently returned to Von Radio and I had the other candidate for St. James with me. Actually, I am the candidate for St. John's and the other candidate, Patricia Jeffords, is the candidate for St. James, Mr. Keynes said. Election in Nevis is constitutionally due in March 2023 across 5 districts. However, Mr. Keynes disclosed that his party is seeking to contest at least 3 of the 5 seats despite the challenges. We already had someone for St. Paul's, Charlestown, but unfortunately that person pulled out, and so we are still looking for a 3rd candidate. Right now, we are not absolutely sure if we are going to contest St. Thomas and St. George, but surely we want to contest 3 seats, he said. Mr. Keynes added, with regards to if we will contest the local election, absolutely, we will be contesting the next local election. In light of the destabilizing actions within Team Unity and the filing of a motion of no confidence in the leadership of Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, there have been constant debates about a federal election being held in the upcoming months. Less than 2 years after the previous election, Mr. Keynes believes that this may constitute a shift in the time frame of elections in the Federation, hinting at the possibility of the Moral Restoration Movement contesting the federal election before the Nevis election. Oh, wow. You know what is interesting? Never in my wildest thoughts would I thought that there's a possibility that we will be contesting a federal election before a local election. Mr. Keynes added, I recalled when we launched, somebody asked me the question, will you be contesting the federal election as well? My response was, that's over some 3 years from now, and I would rather take it one step at a time. Right now, we are looking at a local election, trying to get things in place for the local elections, and based on that, how that goes, we'll make a determination as to whether we'll contest the federal election. And I said to the person at that point in time, I would rather not spend any time thinking about federal elections. My goodness, with all the upheaval in St. Kitts now, we might just be contesting the federal elections before local elections. Well, seems like somebody else is jumping into the arena. A very difficult fight, but I'm sure with our democracy, anything is possible. Yes, guys, I am now taking your calls again. I saw that you were calling, but I needed to get to the article before I took any other calls. So feel free to call in and give your thoughts. I think that it is good that we have other people who are contesting or trying to contest any election, as We need some fresh blood in there. Maybe to shake up things a little bit. Who knows? Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, darling. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. I'm just enjoying the politics.
As usual,
it's
usual.
Nasty. It's very nasty, but trying to get it started out.
Okay.
Did I hear Peter Rickman telling you that the Prime Minister could fire the 3 candidates from here? You think he could also fire them in Nevis? That's how it could work like that? I don't know. Just asking.
Oh, I don't know either, but maybe somebody could answer that for me.
No, but he's saying that I think I hear him say he could fire the 3 candidates from here and work with what he had until the 3 months when he call election. I think I hear him answer that.
Well, he was mentioning, yes, he did mention that there could be a possibility.
So I want to know if you also could go to Nevis or just learning. I don't know how it goes, okay?
Well, darling, I learning just along with you, you know.
Well, somebody could call in and let me know.
Yes.
You know, we all have to know.
That is a good question.
I like to listen when I listen alone. So somebody please call in and explain that to me, please, because this is really nasty and messy. Mate, I don't even know where we're going from here. You understand?
Listen, none of us do, but we will be along for the journey either way.
It's just annoying and disgusting. I never know we will reach to this after we work so hard to get this team unity together. I never know we'll reach today.
I don't think anybody did.
And
well, besides the opposition, if you ask them, but I don't think anybody else.
Goes well and everybody be safe. So
well, somebody saying on the
live. Okay.
Yes, somebody saying on the live he can fire them from the federal government too. So I guess he could just clear the whole cabinet. Do you guys think he will? Do you guys think he will get to a point? Dr. Timothy Harris will get to a point where he just decides to clear the whole roster and just leave Aquila and whoever else he sees fit in government. Somebody said he could strip any minister of their portfolio, but they would still be a minister of parliament. Interesting. So he can take away their responsibility, but he can't put them out of parliament. Is that what you're saying? Interesting. I don't know where we're going from here, but just like you guys, I'm quite interested in seeing how this will play out. I am new to I keep saying, and I guess y'all not hearing me clearly. I keep saying I'm very new to this political arena, but it's a development. It's an ongoing development where I am learning, just how you guys are teaching me, just how the politicians are teaching me. But I am definitely very interested in seeing how this next couple of months will play out. Good morning, Carly, alive.
Good morning. Let me see if I could add any clarity rather than obscurity. Now, he could fire the members of his cabinet. He cannot fire the members of the Nevis Island administration. Just those who are members of the federal thing, eh? So Nevis government will still be intact. The question for me, however, is if he fires the ministers, what happened to the senators that they brought in? Because the AG and Wendy were brought in with him. He brought in the young lady, right? Well, if he stays in, I suppose he's staying. The deputy speaker.
Yeah.
So I have been wondering if he intends to fire them, what happened to the senators who came in with the other parties? Will the AG also have to resign?
Because the other people were fired?
Because they're members of the same cabinet.
Oh.
Because remember that they nominate, you know.
But suppose he doesn't fire the whole cabinet. Suppose he just, decides to remove one or two.
The cabinet must have a certain number of people to function.
What's that number?
I think I heard somebody say somebody said 5. I think I heard somebody on another station was saying the quorum for a cabinet meeting must be at least, I think it's 5 members. I can be corrected. All of those who know they study in the Bible, the Constitution Bible. Some people know more than God so loved the world.
The political pundits, yes.
Yes. They can't tell you what to find God so loved the world. But now serious, I want to know, because I heard I mean, they must have freedom. I had to have freedom. They were talking about the quorum, and they were talking about, well, Shaw not going, but the other members were going. You see? So you had the other members were attending. So if Shaw and Antigua weren't going, then the other two from Nevis were going, and the other three from Sankers were going. So I think they say you have to have a quorum. So could somebody please, who knows the number, otherwise you'll have a functioning Prime Minister with no cabinet.
Well, I have a little information for you. Somebody is saying the senators steps up in place according to the Constitution.
They stay in place?
They step up in place according to the Constitution.
To become what?
I guess
they're already ministers.
Yes, but I think I think
ask them for the chapter and the thing.
I think what they're saying is, let's say there's a situation where he fires one of the ministers. I guess the senators now take their place.
Talk about all.
Oh, but I don't know.
We're talking about the 6 going, right?
Do we have 6 senators to step up?
No.
Okay,
no, we only have 3 senators on the government side, answer.
Oh.
Wendy, the AG, and the young lady, Dr. Nisbet. Who else in there?
I'm not sure. I will
think
have
those
to
3.
get some information on that, but I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, because I'm saying if they got to go with the people who brought them in, then where does the AG stand? He was not elected, he's a senator.
Well, somebody
And
said if Dr. Harris fired more than 5 members, the government falls. So
that's what I'm saying. So it's 3%, so it's 6. That's what I'm saying, you know.
Boy, this one here ticklish, boy. This one here ticklish.
You got to know the verse and the chapter, the book, the chapter and the verse, you know. You make any mistake out of it, then you got to seek legal.
Legal advice. That's the thing that seems to be.
In the Bible, we said you check the concordance. For the Greek and the Hebrew and the whatever meaning, then you come back with the verse. So somebody work out that before you all
somebody work out this for myself and Miss Henry. Give us some information.
No, for the Prime Minister too, because some people have put the poor man in trouble. You go take the man and fire everybody and find yourself. You stand alone.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait to see.
Well, he might have to become what Peter becomes, 1 man in 8. 10 man in 1. I beg them come back. You hear me?
I beg them too. But anyway, I think we're too far. We don't pass that peace thing now.
Please, don't break anybody's heart.
Well, I think we already passed that, man.
I want to know that, though. I want to know. The one with the number that must remain in cabinet for the government to function.
Okay, hopefully somebody can answer your question on the live.
All right, God bless you. Have a good day.
You as well. Yeah. The reason I love my show is because the things that I don't know, you guys answer for me. I have never claimed to know it all. I've never claimed to be a big political person, and I don't have all the answers. But thankfully, I have listeners and viewers who spend time looking up these type of things and can give me the answer. God bless all of you. Before we continue into more politics or, that type of thing, let's take a quick, not break, but let's jump into a quick conversation about something else. It says mental health in the workplace, a major priority for the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I think that is important as well. It says the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce remain committed to championing mental well-being in the workplace. This was disclosed by Mr. Kevin Hope, Executive Director of the Chamber, in a written statement to Win FM on Thursday, April 28th. He said the Chamber of Industry and Commerce is committed to championing mental well-being for both management and staff, taking positive actions to build a culture and providing greater support for those who need help. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce is an advocate and is working with members to promote good mental health in the workplace by liaising with the local and international agencies to offer mental health training / awareness, discussing the design and adoption of mental health toolkits / plans for members, promoting healthy and physical / sporting activities as part of the required cultural change, providing access and the right support, increasing communication about well-being, and committing to tackling the causes of work-related stress. Listen, this is important, sir, because a lot of y'all jobs out here stressing y'all out. Y'all can't function. Y'all have to spend y'all whole day. Because let's be honest, most jobs are 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, which is majority of your day. And so because this is majority of your day, we have to make sure the workplace environment or the people in charge have to make sure that the people's well-being and health is a top priority. This isn't back then when people used to work themselves to death, when people used to just give up their whole life for their jobs. Now we are finding that people are paying more attention to how they're feeling, how their jobs make them feel, and they are leaving when the environment isn't healthy, which is leading to an increase in turnover when it comes to employees. So please, guys, businesses, anybody listening who has that type of position, make sure your employees' well-being is at the forefront. That is only going to foster a better environment for you, which is going to essentially lead to you as a business benefiting. We are coming out of a pandemic, and I keep saying we are coming out of because I saw recently that the US also said the same thing, that they are coming out of a pandemic. And so I think we have to pay more attention to the mental health of the workers. It has been a rough couple of years, I'm not going to lie, on anybody, people who were made redundant, people who lost their jobs because they weren't able to or decided not to be vaccinated, and people who just were suffering because of the effects of the pandemic. We have to pay attention to these people. We are not okay. We are not okay. And so some more resources can be put into these things. Some more help can be given to businesses when it comes to dealing with mental health. I think that is very important. Okay. Somebody says, get counseling. Me go every 2 weeks to see mine. Nothing like a good conversation with a counselor. I agree. I am trying to see mine as well. But they have been doing some work at the counseling center, and I saw that they are gearing up to, get back out there. But yes, go see a counselor. We have counselors here on St. Kitts and on Nevis. We also have a counseling center. Call them 465-5000. If it's not them, it's Domino's. So if you call Domino's by accident, just order pizza while you wait on your counselor and get the help that you need. Let's return to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're live.
Good morning. Everybody sleeping?
No, we're here.
Well, no, I'm making sure I keep your company.
Thank you.
As long as you're here and I'm here, you don't have to feel abandoned.
I appreciate you.
Now, working at home is more stressful. I think many workers are being exploited.
You said working at home is more stressful?
Yeah.
How so?
In that they often assign you more work than you would have done if you're in the office.
You think so?
Yes. All kind of hours. You're working 8 to 4 o'clock, you're finished. A number of persons who work at home. So they're getting all kind of work after hours. No respect for your home time.
Well, I can't say I agree with you because I've been in situations where after leaving work at 5 o'clock, I still had to work at home.
That's what I'm telling you. But if you were going to the office, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I leave the office at 5, I still had to go home to work.
That's what. Well, did you negotiate your hours of work?
There's no negotiating with that. But
Only the
somebody is
government are
also
there.
saying that you are right. I know people who work at home work longer hours because they get up like after 6. Miss Henry is right. I know 2 people close to me
Yeah,
kicking
but I
in
know
long
people
hours.
personally. I
That
mean,
is
they say all
terrible.
at 9 o'clock at night time. People sending assignments to you and stuff like that.
That is terrible.
I call it exploitation. And it interrupts your family life.
It does.
Especially because young children. The child can't get the chance because you don't want them disturbing you.
Or you
know,
feel
so
like you need to
sometimes-
finish your work because you have to provide for them.
You know. So when I hear about mental health, and sometimes the mental disorder is often caused by other co-workers too.
Yep.
Some people look like their job is to wake up in the morning and the devil give them the assignment.
Just to come and be miserable at a job.
Yeah. They create conflict. They're disobedient. You know what I mean?
And that is
They
why
make
the
your life
jobs, the
miserable.
people in charge need to make sure that these instances are dealt with appropriately.
But you say in the private sector, it is easier to discipline than in the government sector.
I know that for sure.
Because everybody know who I'm going to the minister for you. I just say, when you go, tell them my name is Sylvie Henry. I born on the 7th of March 1948. And my job descriptions are in charge of you. So when you come back up here, I'm in charge of you. No, you tell them some of them have so.
Trust me, I have friends that work for government institutions, and they are not even their co-workers, but their bosses. It's like they wake up in the morning and the only thing on their mind is how to make these people miserable.
The devil send them.
I don't understand them. I told
understand
my
it, I
friends
understand
quit because clearly your boss has an issue, and it's like they
That's what
enjoy
I'm saying.
making the employees' lives hell.
Unhappy people make other people unhappy.
Well, they need to take it to the Lord and pray.
Hurt people hurt other people.
They need to take it to the Lord in prayer and stop bringing your miserableness to the job sites. You're making other people's lives miserable for no reason.
Or select me. Call 465-5000.
All that. Thank you, Miss Henry. We have to jump into something else really quickly because time is running us down. Yeah, man. Cut it out. Y'all coming to these job sites to be miserable. And the people only trying to do their jobs. How are they supposed to function? If you being miserable to them, they already have pressures of the workload that they have, given probably by you. And now you're making the people life miserable. Anyway, y'all not going to see heaven gates, you know? I tell you, talk to you. God going to pull out the line until I stand up on the side. He going to come talk to y'all privately. But let's jump into something that developed over the last 24 hours in the BVI. This one is a hot one. So it says, Premier of British Virgin Islands, Port Director charged in Miami in cocaine smuggling scheme. Yes, guys, you heard that correctly. The Premier of British Virgin Islands, Port Director, charged in Miami in a cocaine smuggling scheme. I couldn't make this up if I tried. The Premier of the British Virgin Islands and the Director of the Small Caribbean Territories ports were arrested Thursday at a Miami area airport by federal agents on charges of conspiring to import cocaine into the United States and money laundering, according to U.S. authorities. Andrew Arturo Fahy, BVI's Premier, and Olivine Maynard, Manager Director of the Port Authority, were taken into custody by Drug Enforcement Administration agents at Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport. The foreign officials were arrested after they met with undercover DEA agents posing as cocaine traffickers to check out an alleged shipment of $700,000 in cash on an airplane that they believe was destined for the British Virgin Islands. Authorities told the Miami Herald the DEA agents were posing as members of the Mexican Sinaloa cartel. Oh boy, this Netflix series is going to be hot. Both government officials who were in Miami for a cruise convention went to the airport Thursday morning to see the alleged load of cash after DEA agents told them that the money was a payoff for allowing the cartel's future cocaine loads to be transported through the British territory to United States, authorities said. Well, well, well. Hold on, I have more for you guys. Let me just find these documents that I was sent yesterday. I think it was a statement. Oh, where's the statement? Oh dear, I want to give you guys a statement, but I am having difficulty. Oh, found it. So it's a press statement from Governor of the British Virgin Islands, Mr. John Ranking, CMG. I would like to provide an update to the people of the British Virgin Islands on recent law enforcement action taken by the United States Drug Enforcement Agency, about which I have been informed today. It is my duty as governor to inform you that this morning, the Honorable Premier Fahy was detained in Miami on charges related to conspiracy to import a controlled substance and money laundering. As this concerns the arrest of a British citizen, the U.S. government has informed the U.K. government of this arrest, and as part of the usual process followed when a British citizen is arrested abroad, the U.K. government has subsequently informed me as governor. As this is a live U.S. investigation, I have no further information on the arrest, nor can I comment any further on it. However, what I can confirm is that the arrest was a U.S. operation led by the DEA and is not linked to the Commission of Inquiry report. The remit of the Commission of Inquiry focused on governance and corruption and was not a criminal investigation into illegal drug trade. To avoid any unnecessary speculation, I intend to move ahead urgently on publication of the inquiry report so the people of the BVI can see its contents and its recommendations in the areas it addressed. I will have a call with Minister Milling and the acting Premier, Honorable Natalio Wheatley, tomorrow to discuss further engagement between the U.S. and BVI on the urgent issues. I realize this will be shocking news for people in the territory, and I would call for calm at this point. The Honorable Deputy Premier, Natalio Wheatley, will remain acting Premier of the territory. I will discuss with him and the Cabinet the way forward and in continuing to support the good governance of the territory. I will provide a further update in due course. Boy, oh boy, what a mix-up. How the Premier get mixed up in this? Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. You're live. Turn on your radio, please, caller. Sorry.
Good morning, Jade. Sorry about that.
Good morning.
No, Jade. That is so sad.
It is.
Because no. I see people writing on the wall where they didn't find the cash on them. It's entrapment. The fact that they went and the fact that they were talking to make deals to bring through the drugs to St. Thomas or the Virgin Islands.
BVI.
That is the sad part. The BVI. That is the sad part. The fact that they were even entertaining the thought and meeting with these agents.
Exactly.
So, Jade, so you believe that's the first time?
The first time that they met with them, or the first time they have done this type of
first time they're probably doing something like this, or probably on a smaller, scale.
I don't think you just jump to this type of scale.
Overnight, exactly. So they're probably doing it on a smaller scale. You think Uncle Sam don't watch and listen? Let me tell you, Jade, when you get on a plane, every time you go on a plane, Uncle Sam watching how often you're traveling. Mm-hmm. I don't talk about listening, okay?
Oh.
But if you say something on your phone right now, just only talk. All of a sudden, you're going to see what item you talk about pop up on your Facebook.
You Google all over the place. You ain't got to tell me that. I know they're listening.
You don't even have to search for it. You only have to say you would like this. All of a sudden, you see ads for what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, they've been doing something on a smaller scale. They didn't just get up overnight and just decide, let me go talk to these people about drug trafficking coming to my island. No.
And the only reason I can't agree with the entrapment theories because they, in their minds, according to the report, assume that they were meeting with people from the Sinaloa cartel. No,
exactly.
All of us know what they do. So why would you, as a premier, be meeting with people from a cartel, a drug cartel? Come on.
Exactly. Ain't no entrapment. That ain't no entrapment. They know what they were doing, and somebody were waiting on them. Somebody were listening to them and following them.
Listening and following. No, Cleo, that's not what happened. I wasn't listening and following, The DEA agents posed as people from the cartel.
Okay.
So it wasn't listening and following. It was they're thinking that they're meeting with the cartel when it turned out they actually were meeting with the DEA.
But that's what I mean. Obviously, the agent them had to be listening in on the conversation with the drug people.
To figure out they could set up this type of operation. I see what you
mean.
Yes,
they had to be listening on the conversation to say, well, we're going to take the place of these drug dealers. Something ain't right. Somebody listening to something. You have a good day.
You as well. Your mind. When y'all in certain positions, and the thing is, the positions that they were in could have easily led to this type of behavior because, again, one was somebody that is in charge of the port and the other was the premier. What you doing talking to cartels? Why you putting your country in this type of predicaments? No people scrabbling, watching the premier sideways, watching the port sideways, and we know where most things come in, up the ports. So imagine the person who is in charge of the ports now putting this in place for people to be able to smuggle whatever to the ports. Ticklish situation. Good morning, caller. You're live.
You said exactly what I was going to say. And just starting about it, it's not just the BBI, it's all over the Caribbean. Think it's too. How do you think, where are the drugs and all the guns, then where they come in?
I don't know.
We like to toast. We don't manufacture drugs and guns in the country.
I would like to hope we don't.
A lot of things come through the port. Remember years ago when pontoons could come in and nobody could have touched them pontoons? Hello, nobody could have opened them pontoons to certain people to open them. So that's when trafficking coming to a lot come to the port. So it's not just the BBI. Right in think it's all these things that happen to. Nobody tell me that don't happen. You have a good day.
Boy. Wasn't aware that they were told to go. Wasn't aware that they were told to go meet with the cartel. They wouldn't have gone to the meeting if the DA agents didn't approach them. What are going to the meeting for either way? Even if that's the case, Winston, what are going to any meetings for? DEA or not, why are they meeting with these type of people? Because again, they were under the assumption that they were meeting with the cartels. So even if the cartels approach them first, what are they paying them any attention for? Why are they meeting with them? What is it that you decide to meet with the cartel for? Why? Why would you, a premier and somebody who is in charge of the ports, meet with a cartel, even if they were approached by the cartel? Why would they then go to a meeting? Because a meeting to me opens the door to hear what they have to say. So, I don't know, maybe it's me, but I'm pretty sure if you are in charge of the ports and the cartel, any cartel, somebody say even if it's Vibes Cartel approaches you, what are you going to meet with them for? But anyway, guys, we shall follow the situation. I mean, we have our own situations to follow, but I feel like we needed to add in a little thing from somebody else's country because ours been acting a fool, and we need to see other people act up too. Like, we need to feel like, we as well, they as well. Oh dear, y'all politicians crack me up. Anyway, that has been our show for today, Friday, 29th We will see you guys on Tuesday because Monday is a little old holiday that we all will be going to enjoy. So be safe, guys, over the weekend. Make sure that you do not drink and drive. And if you are drinking and driving, don't do it. There's nothing but don't do it. Because we don't want to see anybody getting in any accidents. We don't want to see any loss of lives. Guys, be safe. Deal with people with grace over this long holiday. We know there's a lot of action and activities happening this weekend. Yes, people are going to be out and about, partying, having fun, spending time with your family and friends and all of these great things. But do it safely, please, guys. That's all we could ask of you. So, guys, this has been my time today. We will be welcoming back my great co-host on Tuesday. I cannot wait. Come home, Azem. Come home. We miss you. But, yes, guys, see you guys next week. Remember to spend more time living your content than posting it, please. And you cannot be everybody's cup of tea because you are not a mug. See you guys next week.